This next section is going to be on acquiring host sites. A host site's a local business that allows you to hang your TV screen at their location so that you can display our advertising. As you go about setting up your host sites, the first thing you're going to do is call on your existing relationships, or relationships that your relationships have that you can fall back on. Along the way, you're going to obtain referrals from your existing host sites, and we would encourage you to become active in local business groups, such as your Chamber of Commerce, Kiwanis and Rotary, meet and greet type organizations. Essentially any and every type of organization out that is made up of local businesses that would make either good host sites or advertisers for your franchise. And then there's the traditional form of just getting out there and contacting businesses, and maybe you set things up by mailing them something or giving them a phone call, or maybe you're just stopping in. In going about and selecting a good host site, you're going to be looking for high traffic meeting places, such as sports bars or coffee shops, perhaps fitness centers, restaurants, doctor and dentist office, waiting rooms of doctor and dentist offices, generally speaking. Although generally these would probably be a business with more than one doctor or a dentist there, where you have more traffic that's coming in and out. Basically high traffic areas where people gather when they're outside their home. In selecting your host sites, you're obviously going to need to do some research in finding popular hangouts. Although it's not necessary, I would recommend that your host sites be in a cluster. This will make it a little easier for your grouping for your advertiser. A number of your host sites are going to be interested in lending a hand to their other local businesses, as many businesses feel that they need to band together to compete against the big box. And by having local host sites, this helps the advertisers be more targeted with their advertising in a local area. And of course, at some point, there will be other host sites that are set up either by another franchisee or corporate. And this is actually to your advantage. You will receive additional revenue with your advertisers on other host site screens, and you will receive additional revenue with their advertisers on your host site screens. Some of the benefits for the host sites are, as we commented earlier, in helping them promote community businesses, kind of the big box against the little guy. Each host site also gets free internal ads, as well as being able to get their special events and featured items up on their screens in their host site. They get up to a 75% discount for their ads being in other locations. The equipment being installed at the host site goes in at no cost to them. Each host site shares in a 10% of the revenue share for ads that are running at their site. There's also additional value-added services such as search engine optimization benefits, being in the Media 360 directory, loyalty programs and benefits, as well as the Swipely analytics. And overall, it provides an upscale ambiance for their business. Let's chat about the host site revenue sharing. Simply put, I would suggest you just don't make it a big deal. I would not make it the biggest selling point. In fact, I would rank it down about number 5. You want to be sure to create realistic expectations. In essence, underpromise and overdeliver. So let's take a look at the host site and signing up a host site. The host site agreement basically outlines all the expectations as well as the deliverables. There's also paperwork there for the installers to fill out, and I would suggest that you work things out as to when your follow-up is going to be taking place. If you're coming out to Scottsdale for your training, then we're going to go over this agreement in detail. And if you're not coming out for the training, then I would strongly urge you to read these agreements and fully understand them. You're going to need to be prepared for any questions that these business owners and host sites might have. And you're going to need to be in a position to make modifications if that's necessary. We are certainly fine with you being flexible. After all, it's your business. But we do need to approve any changes that you make. Your host site agreement is in the back in the section called Forms. I would pull this out and read it very carefully. On the 3rd page is where you sign as well as where the host site signs. In addition, we have other forms that are attached to this agreement as well. This form describes the equipment that's being utilized. This is either filled out by you or by the salesperson who established the relationship and is determining what equipment is going in. In addition, there's a form that asks for host site information. Again, this is filled out by either you or the salesperson. This form provides us with the information that you need as well as what we need relative to the host site. We have another form that's filled out by the installer. This gives us an idea of the equipment that's being put in there as well as the serial numbers on all the equipment being used. I would strongly suggest that you do not pay the installer until this form has been filled out in detail and they have provided you with the photos of the equipment actually installed at the host site. We also have our review and checklist that is in this section of the forms that should help you do a better job of making sure that you've touched base on all the items. So let's wrap things up on host sites. I would suggest that you stay in close contact with your host site as well as your installers as you go through this process. And plan to stay in touch with your host site as you progress forward. You want to make things as easy as possible for your host site, but don't give away the store. I'm sure there'll be times when you find a business owner that's a little bit difficult to deal with. So either you need to be firm or you need to make a business decision whether you need to move on in another direction. Hopefully you found this module helpful and feel free to listen to it as many times as necessary. Thank you.